Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Well, here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, and welcome to a very special edition of Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and this is a show that I've been looking forward to for a while. Hey, remember last year when the governor of Louisiana, John Bel Edwards, he came over with us? He visited the show with none other than Carl the Mailman Malone. Yeah, that was so much fun. Malone, of course, the second leading scorer in NBA history. Well, today the governor's bringing someone else. He's going to bring Coach Orgeron, the head coach for the LSU Tigers. And we're very excited to have them both on the show together. Like that show last year, we're going to put them together. But you might not know that these two are very, very good friends as well. We're going to do a segment with them together, and then we're going to do one separate with Coach O, and of course, talk about LSU football. But before we get to all that, there is so much that went on this weekend in sports, and it was one of the best weekends, literally, if you're talking about sports across the world, that there really was in the entire year. But let's start right here in the Crescent City, because that's where you had the super lightweight, heavyweight championship between local New Orleanian Regis Prograis and his challenger, Juan Jose Velasco. This is basically to see who was the baddest 145-pounder in the world. Prograis won this one in the 8th round. He had a bunch of body shots, a couple face shots there as well, and he got a TKO. He floored him 5 times in the last 2 rounds, but it was fun. I was ringside for that fight, and hopefully this is the beginning of many more great fights to come back to the city of New Orleans. How about Wimbledon, though? A couple Americans got to the finals. Americans, there's been quite a dearth of them in the tennis rankings lately, but Kevin Anderson, he got all the way to the finals. There was no Federer. There was no Nadal. But right there, Novak Djokovic won his 4th Wimbledon and his 13th major. So he's sneaking up on Nadal, who has 17. Of course, we know Federer has 20. And another American lost as well, Serena, who was a 25th seed because she gave birth not that long ago. And she lost to German Angelique Kerber, who, by the way, was the 11th seed. Remember, there was no 10 seeds even in the final 8. So they all went down early. Kerber wins her first Wimbledon. And we had the World Cup, probably the biggest stage there is in the entire world. And you had Croatia, who was a bit of an underdog to France. Croatia came in at 60-1 before the tournament. France was about 10-1. And there's the president of France. How about him going nuts after one of the goals early on? And the Frenchmen, Vive la France, because they are now World Cup champions. Their second ever. Remember, they won it 20 years ago in 1998. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and a couple locals. We talked about it last week. Alex Bregman, LSU star, is going in his first All-Star game, as well as Aaron Nola, the pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. Of course, Bregman, who won the World Series last year with the Astros, will be there as well. Hey, the pitching matchup, this is what's interesting. Max Scherzer for the Nationals, the home team, is facing Chris Sale for the Boston Red Sox. Sale has 188 strikeouts right now. That is the most ever at the All-Star break. And Sale, by the way, is starting for the 3rd straight year. That has only been done twice before in history. Lefty Gomez, you remember this, back in the mid-30s. Well, he did it as well as Robin Roberts, who did it in the mid-50s. He pitched for the Phillies, so only the third. Congratulations to him. And Scherzer and Sale, that matchup was the same one they had last year. And that has not happened since 1939 and 40. You remember that, too. Red Ruffins. He pitched for the Yankees and, of course, the Reds, Paul Derringer. Yeah, we all remember these guys, but they did it. And how about the home run derby last night? Bryce Harper, he needed 9 home runs in the last 50 seconds to beat Kyle Schwarber, at least to tie him, and then they got some extra time, and he got it done, and Bryce Harper is the champion. Bregman also came close when in the first round. He lost. It hit the top of the fence against Schwarber, but he didn't get it. And also, one last thing, the Pels, they introduced Elfrid Payton and Julius Randle to the team and to the city of New Orleans. They're going to be both starters, in my opinion. We have a great show. It's the governor of Louisiana, John Bel Edwards. It's the head coach for LSU football. We know him, Coach O. His name is Ed Orgeron. And, of course, Gerald Boudreau, 5-time Final Four rep. Right here. Stay tuned. It's Primetime Sports.
Scotty says, for I watch my TV show. Scotty says, on Primetime Sports. Scotty says, for I watch my TV show. I got the Primetime Sports. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good game plan is the key to success. When my team hits the field, we always have a game plan.
You should take the same approach with emergency planning. That's why Coach O and I urge you to get a game plan to make sure you, your family, and your pets are safe this hurricane season. Visit GoSEP's GetAGamePlan.org and download the new and improved Get a Game Plan app for important emergency planning information and tools to keep you safe.
Take advantage of the time you have before an emergency. Finalize your plans. Have 3 days' worth of supplies and other essentials in your emergency supply kit. Contact your parish OEP office if you have medical or transportation issues that will make it difficult to evacuate.
You play an important role in making our emergency plans work. Take the time to learn your responsibilities.
Like I always say,
one team, one heartbeat.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports, and like they said, one team, one heartbeat. That was made not this year, but last year. That's a very important public service announcement for everybody on the Gulf Coast, and particularly South Louisiana as well. And the two guys that put that together, well, they're sitting right here with me right now. The governor of Louisiana, his name, well, you know it, it's John Bel Edwards, and everybody knows who the head coach of LSU always is. And right now it is Ed Orgeron, and they're both here, and they're both very good friends, like I said in the open. We're going to talk about how that all came about, but also about stuff like you're doing right there with the hurricane preparedness. Governor?
Scott, good to be with you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Yes, sir.
I love that. This is something important for people in South Louisiana. Obviously, we know what happened during Katrina, and that's not the only storm that we got affected by. But how did this come about?
Well, we needed a public service announcement, and we wanted somebody who would get the attention of the people of Louisiana. And we didn't think there was anybody better suited to talk about getting a game plan than the new head coach at LSU, someone who grew up in South Louisiana from Lafourche Parish. And he has firsthand experience with storms and hurricanes. And when he speaks with authority. And so we wanted to enlist his help. He was gracious enough to do it. And so we filmed a public service announcement, and I still encourage everybody, because we're in hurricane season right now.
Right now, it's right here.
Get a game plan. So go to getagagameplan.org. Prepare to handle yourself for the first 3 days if necessary. Make sure you have those supplies on hand, and know that the state and local first responders will get there as soon as we can.
Coach, how long have you two known each other? Like, when did this relationship? I know you're good friends now, but when did y'all get to know each other?
It's been over a year and a half.
Yeah.
I met him at a duck hunting camp, and I really wanted to meet the governor. I thought he did great things for the state of Louisiana. As being from Louisiana, I always wanted the head coach from LSU and the governor become one and serve its great state of Louisiana. And so far we've done it, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Well, you know what he enjoyed every second of was being at the LSU practice. Yeah. And this has been seen a little bit, but we all realized, we heard he played quarterback for a meet, but we didn't know really that he played quarterback until we saw this video. We're going to roll some of it and let y'all talk about it. First, I want you to talk about the experience real quick, and also you to kind of give him a little pointer on how did he do.
Well, first of all, the coach surprised me. I wanted to go to the practice just to speak to the team and try to get them fired up going to play the bowl game against Notre Dame. And I walked in, and they give me the outfit to put on, and told me I'm going to run some plays. And anyway, and there's a little kid in all of us, and there's still a lot of kid in me. And when
Look at that point of release, though, Coach. I mean, he's right on it.
I did a little research on him. I remember that he played quarterback at A.B. High, and I wanted him to show his excellent athletic ability to our football team, and he did.
Well, I think our quarterback controversy is over. How much eligibility do you have left?
I don't know. That's a fat, old, slow person right there. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun.
As long as you got good linemen to protect you, you're going to be just fine. But going further, what are some things that you think that you two can do together as a team? Like Coach O said perfectly, you want to be as one, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love LSU. I love all of the universities in Louisiana, but I went to the LSU Law School. I can remember as a kid listening to LSU games. A lot of times it was on the radio.
Yeah.
But this is what I appreciate about Coach Orgeron. He is very competitive. He loves our state, loves the university, loves those players. But he also wants to make sure that the academic side of the institution is well taken care of. And so it was very important for him that we were able to maintain stable funding for the institution itself and to fully fund the TOPS program, which is very important, not just at LSU, but around the state. And I appreciate the effort that he made to make sure that the people of Louisiana were focused on the academics and not just the athletics. But I love his competitiveness. I love the spirit that he has and just how he excites people. And everything is Go Tigers with Coach Orgeron.
No. Yeah. You know that this man bleeds purple and gold, which I love. You want that in your coach, and you want that in your governor as well. I mean, you're not necessarily purple and gold, but just bleed for the state of Louisiana and the great state we have. By the way, one of the great resources we have is hunting and fishing. Yeah. And I know that means so much to people, not just in South Louisiana, but in North Louisiana as well. It's been a trademark of our state for a long time, and you've been participating yourself since you were young.
Well, my dad had 8 children, 7 boys. We were hunting and fishing all the time. We are the sportsman's paradise, and I'm excited that just today I announced that we're going to invest $60 million across South Louisiana to enhance recreational opportunities.
Wow.
Much of it around wildlife and fisheries, because we are the sportsman's paradise. We're going to enhance 11 artificial reefs down in the Gulf.
Look at all those redfish. Did y'all go buy those at the store and just bring them on the boat?
On Saturday, we got a limit of red snapper. It was a lot of fun.
Was that Charlie Kaplinger, the captain of this boat?
It is. He did a wonderful job. And by the way, his daughter, Addie, was a great deckhand. She worked extremely hard.
She worked it well?
Boat. Sure.
Well, they're a great family, no doubt about it. Hey, on the sporting side, meaning like the sports, what's your involvement with like youth sports across the state?
Well, we do promote sports across the state, whether it's just basic physical fitness. But, you know, my wife, Donna, is involved in arts, music, and movement in our schools. And so she's got a foundation where she's actually doing that as well.
Yeah, by the way, Donna and your wife, Kelly, tremendous. I mean, what they do on and off the field for the state of Louisiana and for the LSU program. I'm going to go with you. Talk about the relationships that the wives do, the first ladies, and obviously the first lady of football do for the sports that across the state.
Well, first of all, they're a rock.
Yeah.
Kelly's my rock, and I need her, and I need her when I go home. Take great suggestions from her. Donna and Kelly have become friends. They're good tennis partners together, and they represent the governor and I in a lot of situations. And you talk about youth sports. I'm into educating the youth coaches.
Yes.
In coaching football the right way, coaching young sports the right way, baseball, soccer, whatever it may be, to develop our great state of Louisiana, develop the young athletes so they can get a great education through sports.
We just had one of your appointees on, Kyle France, who was appointed Louisiana Sports Exposition District. He's the chairman, and we talked a lot about the great events that come to New Orleans and the state of Louisiana as well. But one of those is the Super Bowl, and that is giant. 2024 is the Super Bowl, 2022 is the Final Four, and 2020 is the National Football Championship game, which LSU will be playing in next year. I mean, it's going to be, or 2 years from now, it's going to be amazing. But talk about the effort to get the Super Bowl here, because that's the big cheese right there.
Well, it is, and it was a team effort, and I will tell you the Bensons did a wonderful job, and of course Gail got it over the goal line, but everybody from New Orleans and around the state of Louisiana was really on the same sheet of music on that. And to get them back in 2024, and when we do that, we'll be back in our rightful place, because there won't be any city in the country that will have hosted more Super Bowls than New Orleans once we have that Super Bowl in 2024.
That's the next one? Because for a while, I remember being a kid, it used to be like if you had season tickets to the Saints, you got tickets. We were going in the early 70s. I remember 74 when the Steelers played, obviously the Vikings. But now it seems like it's every 10 years. Is there any chance you think it could be more frequent?
Well, I can tell you that they love coming to New Orleans. The weather is always much better than it is up north at that time of year. The food, the entertainment just couldn't be better. They have this deal where if a franchise gets a new stadium, they're rewarded with a Super Bowl. So it kind of depends on how many new stadiums are being built as to what that rotation looks like. But all things being even, New Orleans has an advantage over just about any other city.
And I agree with that. Being the median, when I was living out of the state, that was the consensus. And Ed, you know this, as a guy that's from Louisiana, people love to come to the city of New Orleans for big events, don't they?
No question. New Orleans has had a great tradition of all these great Super Bowls, and everybody comes to New Orleans and has a blast. They want to eat the great food, and it's all about the people.
Yeah, and going forward with the other events, you think, because the Final Four is a huge one, that's 2022. There's a national championship game. The SEC, I don't want to leave the women out. Gymnastics is coming next year in 2019. Yeah. I love Dee Bro was a big part of that. But that's coming to the Smoothie King Center, which is another place you can get good events for the state of Louisiana.
It is, and in fact, I picked up the phone one day and I called Kyle and said, Kyle, we got the best gymnastics program in the country, certainly in the SEC. Why are we not hosting the SEC championship? And he said, well, Governor, I'm going to get on that. Next thing I know, they've made it happen, and I'm excited because Dee has been there a long time, and there's nobody in the country who does a better job than she does with her girls.
We had her on last year. I love her. Her energy is infectious. It's enthusiasm. And that's my next question to you. Your relation with the other coaches, because Will Wade has been a frequent guest on the show. Paul Maneri's been a frequent guest. But the head coach at LSU is kind of a special thing in any sport. But football is the one that everybody around the state looks to. But what is your relationship with the other coaches in the other sports?
One team, one heartbeat.
That's it.
We text each other. I text them congratulations, good luck. They back and forth with me. We support each other in every venue.
Is there one in particular that you talk to a little more than the others? Because we all have, we love everybody, but there's a couple that might be on our everyday speed dial.
You know, they all equal. But I have to say that Dee is one of my favorites.
if you have never met Dee, you know what I'm talking about. You saw her on the show last year. I mean, she got me fired up to go try gymnastics, but I said, I'm about 200 pounds too heavy. But going forward, as far as what your role in sports is going to be, do you foresee any other big events that might be coming our way?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, we announce things when we're as comfortable as we can be that they're coming. But I can tell you, we never stop working. And the New Orleans Sports Foundation, those folks work around the clock, making sure we're taking advantage. Look, it might be WrestleMania. It could be the championship fight we had just this past Saturday night in New Orleans. So there's a lot of people want to come here. It's a great destination, and we're going to keep working to promote our state.
I just saw a couple shots here. Both of you had shots with Steve Scalise. Obviously, we all know what happened to him up there in Washington, D.C. And the party lines sometimes kind of blur things, but friendships are friendships. And I know he has been a great ambassador for our state. Talk about each of y'all's relationship with him.
Well, I'll go first. Steve is a good person, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. And I've made many trips to Washington to try to help the state recover after the floods of March and August 2016. He has always met with me. He works extremely hard. Of course, he's in a great position as a majority whip to make things happen. And I appreciate the professional but also the personal relationship that we have, and he means an awful lot to our state.
Absolutely.
You know, we became friends when he had that terrible accident. And I was texting him on a daily basis, giving him words of encouragement. And I told him I'll see him on the sideline at LSU, and he was there that day.
And that was the day right here we're seeing. Yep. Coach, I got to say this. You have to love this because this guy represents LSU big time. He plays in all those events, and he's always got that purple and gold going. He's got LSU representing up in Washington, D.C.
Great representation of the Tigers.
Hey, and as far as what your role is in the rest of sports, I mean, we talked about the major sporting events, but we kind of touched on youth sports, but how important is it for the youngsters around here to keep going despite things like CTE? I mean, is that a concern? Because the young kids today, well, I mean, obviously a lot of parents are shifting to other sports.
No, it is a concern, and that's why I'm glad to hear that the coach is working with youth coaches to make sure that they coach correctly and safely. I'm concerned about that, but there are so many opportunities out there to be involved and for kids to be physically fit. I happen to think that it helps in terms of their academics as well. Because a coach who really is concerned about that kid isn't going to just coach them in football or basketball or soccer. They're going to make sure that they're coaching them when it comes to doing well in the classroom too. And so it is incredibly important. And that's why I'm really proud of the work that Donna's doing with her foundation to promote music, art, and movement in our schools. And the movement is a big thing. We have more obesity because it's that food the coach was talking about a while ago. we have the best food in the country, but we have an obesity problem, and therefore we have hypertension and diabetes. But if we can get kids at an early age to move and to make sure that they're exercising and participating in organized activities and sports, we're all going to be much better off.
All right, LSU's got to play the #1 team from last year, Alabama. They got to play the national runner-up, Georgia. They've got Miami, who at one time was number 2 or 3 in the country last year, and they were rolling. And also Auburn, who was right up there as well. And 3 other teams that are supposed to be very, very good. And what's your take on LSU this season?
Well, first of all, I'm always excited. I think we're going to win every game.
Every game.
I am so optimistic. And of course, you can't win them all but right now, but you can win that first one. And so I'm focused on that Miami game. I plan to be in Dallas.
You plan to be there?
Oh, I'm going to be there to watch the game and to cheer Coach and his players on to victory.
Yeah, I have a Nebraska game the day before with Brando, but that's a Saturday game, and I love that it's Sunday, so I think I might make that little flight.
In fact, it's Sunday night. It'll be easy for you.
A little detour to come on through to catch that game. Hey, you're also doing something very special with the young college kids in today. It's a fellowship program. I want you to explain that. We have one of them here, and I want you to introduce him in a second.
Well, we have the very first ever Governor's Fellows Program, where we selected 10 kids from about 200 applicants from around the state. I say kids, these young men and young women. They're all at a university, public or private, in Louisiana. And for a summer, they come and they work with a cabinet official. And with us today is Kobe Lane, who is originally from New Orleans, but he comes from Fayetteville,
Welcome. How you doing,
Georgia. He's a quarterback.
Wait, once you're from New Orleans, you're a New Orleanian.
That's right.
Okay, let's get that straight.
He's
you're
a New Orleanian,
too.
but he's at Southern University,
Right.
and he is shadowing Dr. Sean Wilson, who is the Secretary of the Department of Transportation and Development. And he's going to get credits awarded by LSU, but they will be accepted by Southern, and he and the other 9 fellows, I think, are having a wonderful summer. And I know that I've gotten a lot out of being able to interact with them, and I just hope that they've been able to benefit as well.
That's pretty cool. So you're excited? Everything's going well for you?
Yes, it's been such a great opportunity. It opens a lot of doors and allows us to see a lot of the inner workings of government.
Well, you're not mic'd up, but I got you. He's very excited. How about that part? We appreciate you very much, though. And by the way, how did this thing all begin?
Actually, it was an idea that Mark Cooper, my chief of staff, your fraternity brother.
And I have to thank him for helping put this together. Mark's been great.
But Mark came to me several months ago, and he said he would like to do it. It had never been done in our state, and I'm not sure how widely it's done across the country. But I thought it was a great opportunity to make sure that more young people had access to public service. And hopefully it will inspire them to be public servants, and they can learn more about how government works. They can also get some academic credit and hopefully have a good time. And I think they're doing all of those things. So I appreciate Mark for being the spearhead of that.
Well, we have a tradition here where the main guest signs the balls. Governor, I know you might have signed another one last year. Oh, I see Coach O. Well,
Coach O's got it, huh?
Yeah, we got you one right here, and I thank you all. I have a shirt for you. I'm going to give you in a little bit, but Coach, I've got one for you. And Coach O is going to be back for the next segment, so I'm going to give him a shirt as well. But this is from Task Performance. I'm going to tell you, this is soft workout wear. It's unbelievable. It's
Thank
bamboo.
you very much.
No polyester, none of that in there at all. You got the ball. And also, when you come down to New Orleans, bring your lovely wife, Donna, down here. That is right there by Camellia Grill. It's on Maple Street, right by the river bend where Carrollton meets St. Charles, right in that neighborhood. It's called Chez de la Chez. So y'all enjoy. We're also going to bring Coach O back because he's going to talk about the LSU football program. So for Kobe, for Governor John Bell Edwards, they're going to go. But Coach O is going to stay right here on Primetime Sports.
Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez de la Chez, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez de la Chez, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports. We had so much fun with Coach O when he was with the governor. We decided to bring him back for one more segment. This one is to talk about the LSU football team. Obviously, he is the coach now for this would be his second full season. But do you remember that interim when LSU had lost to Auburn? He got that job. That team went 6-2 right after that. And how about this? After the Troy loss last year, people seem to forget. This team went 6-1 down the stretch. They were on fire, and they were one play away from beating Notre Dame. And how different would it be for most people if they say, oh, 10-3 going into the season? Well, I think you might look at it a little differently. They did lose a lot of players, but they have a lot of talent still in Tiger Town. And one of the reasons why is right here. His name is Ed Orgeron. His friends call him Bebe, and most of you call him Coach O. But here he is.
What's up, brother?
Good to see you, bud.
Great to be on the show,
Nice to see you. I used to have you on the radio show a little bit when you were in that in-between year when you had left coaching for a bit before you became the defensive line coach at LSU. Always fun to talk to you. But I want to ask you about your parents. Your mom's named Coco, your dad's named Bebe, and then they named you Bebe as well?
You know, my dad was the youngest of 13.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And was supposed to be the youngest of 13. They had one after.
They had a surprise.
And he'd always bring me to the ballpark. And his name was Bebe, and I'd be tagging along and going to all the softball games, and there's little Bebe. So I became Bebe as I grew up.
So anybody I know from the Bayou, literally anybody from the guy that runs ESPN to Bobby Hebert to Tillier, it's Bebe still. Yeah. So your friends still call you that occasionally?
Oh, no question. My name was never Ed till I moved out of state of Louisiana.
All right, I have to ask you, when you got the job at LSU, I remember when I was doing the radio back then, I was like, golly, why don't they get Ed Orgeron? This would be perfect. And when they named you the interim coach, what's the first feelings that go through your body as a guy that comes from South Louisiana, a guy that actually spent a couple weeks there before going to Northwestern?
Right.
So you loved LSU growing up.
Yeah, what a blessing. What a blessing and what an opportunity. And the day I became interim coach, in my mind, I was going to be the full-time coach at LSU. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, I mean, and listening to a lot of people talk about Ensminger, and I know you talked about this yesterday at Media Days, and I have to say this. Ensminger and Charles Alexander were my first two loves for LSU football because I fell in love with this like 77, 78, 79, and I remember when he was the quarterback there. I just love the guy. It was him and Woodley with the two quarterbacks. Obviously, for a little bit of that time, Charles Alexander was the running back. But talk about your relationship and how far back it goes with Steve.
Well, I know Steve since I was a freshman since 1979. I was actually his graduate assistant football coach at McNeese in 1985.
Oh, my goodness.
And he and I have been friends ever since.
So you know what he's all about?
Every day. I know who he is every day. I know he bleeds purple and gold. And the thing that made me want to hire Steve Ensminger is that when he took over when I was interim coach, think about this. In 8 games, 7 of those games, he broke school records.
I'm going to say this. I remember it well, and I was championing the cause for him. I remember they were averaging like 470 yards. 30-something points, like 35, 36, 37 points a game. And I'm like, why not Steve Ensminger? And I know y'all went for the big hire in Matt Canada, and I know we all make mistakes here, but did you think that maybe he should have gotten it back then?
I didn't think I was at the point where I could have hired Steve.
Right.
I think that we had to go out there and get a big name, which we did. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted Steve Ensminger to be our offensive coordinator.
I mean, he knows the game of football. I mean, he's proven it. And now it's funny because when he didn't get, I know why he doesn't like the media a whole lot. And let me say this, and I understand because when you have people that don't really know the game of football, like the insiders that actually coached and played it all the time, and not to say they don't know it, they can't talk about it. Of course you can't. But it always bothered me when people that dog somebody that's only been successful at what he's done. I don't understand it. Do you?
Well, here's what. I know this about Steve Ensminger. I know how he's going to work every day.
Right.
I know how players respond to him. And he's also an excellent recruiter. He's a great game day caller. The thing I like about Steve is he and I was on the same page on what type of offense the LSU needs at this point in our careers.
There is a lot of uncertainty with people. I think that's why you're not seeing LSU ranked high because usually if you don't have a Fournette, there's a Geist there right there. Right. And, there's always been these name receivers, but it seemed like there was an exodus at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you're coming in with a lot of unproven players. What is your thought when you tell the people that say, hey, LSU, they're rated below 7 of their opponents coming into the season? What do you tell those people?
Hey, that's why we play the game. We're going to have a new quarterback. Who knows our quarterback is? Whoever it is going to be good.
Yeah.
We have a new offense. We have an outstanding defense. We have a new kicker in Cole Tracy. We have an excellent coaching staff. I do believe we're going to have an excellent year and a great football team.
And the funny thing is, I'm glad you said the kicker, because you don't ever want to talk down about what happened last year about a particular position, but the kicking position cost LSU. Yes. And that's the funny thing is, like, you wonder what people's mindset would be if a couple of those games went the other way, and maybe they would have because of the kicking situation.
Exactly. And, it affects the way you call the game. You have to go for it more, fourth down, the field position.
Right.
You may not get as many points as you want to. So we feel that Cole Tracy is going to be an excellent field goal kicker. We look forward to it.
All right, since you brought the quarterbacks up, I know it's an open battle. We all know that, and that's competition brings out the best in the players. But I'm going to say a player's name, and you give me what this guy can provide for the team. Just give me the assets you think of first. I'm going to start with Miles Brennan, since he's a two-time guest right here on Primetime Sports.
Pure passer.
Beautiful. Anything else? I didn't mean to. Winner.
He's a winner. He's a champion. I'm one of Miles Brennan's biggest fans.
Myself as well, and I also love Lowell Narcisse, who I've watched a lot at St. James High School. What do you think of first when you think of him?
When you think of Lowell Narcisse, he's probably the most talented quarterback we have on our roster. He is a bull running the football. He is hard to stop. He probably has the strongest arm. He's a great athlete. Now think about this. Now we know that he had 2 ACL surgeries. He hadn't played football in 2 years. He's only a redshirt freshman. He had a great spring. He is going to compete for the starting job. When
you say he's the most talented, is there a chance that a guy like that, if he doesn't win the starting position, can somehow fit on the field somewhere else?
We'll have a plan for him, and he's always going to play quarterback. But there's a possibility that we can play 2 quarterbacks and give one the skill sets, the plays or the skill set to what he does.
Well, that's interesting because Enzeminger was part of a 2-quarterback set. David Woodley was the other one who also went on to go to a Super Bowl, did not win it with the Dolphins. But as a guy that's in the 2-quarterback system, did Enzeminger like it, or is he like thinking that he should have been the full-time guy and taking what he learned as a guy that did it, would he do it again?
I don't think neither one of us want a 2-quarterback system. We want a clear-cut quarterback. We think that's the best way to win championships.
Right.
But if it's close, we're going to have to let 2 quarterbacks play to see which one wins out. Hopefully, the job is won in camp.
I can't not bring up Justin McMillan because he played so well in the spring game. What do you think of with Justin McMillan?
Probably had the best spring game.
Yeah.
Extends plays with his feet, strong arm, leader, enthusiastic, can make plays.
And he's the guy that's probably been around the longest, correct?
He's a junior. He's a leader. He's working hard this summer. He's going to be hard to beat out.
And obviously everybody's talking about the transfer from Ohio State. He was a big-time quarterback coming out of high school. His name is Joe Burrow. He had a hurt hand last year, which didn't give him a chance to play, and Haskins came in and got that gig to back up J.T. Barrett. What are your thoughts on what he can provide for the LSU offense?
Joe's 6'3", 220. He's a big quarterback. He's very smart. He's a coach's son. In our interview, he was excellent on the plays that we run. His ability to run the offense, call the protection, make the plays. He's extremely accurate. He throws the ball on time. He can make plays with his feet. We think he's a really tough quarterback.
The skill position players, like I said, Geis is gone. The receivers, you had some good ones. LSU, people forget. They think about the running school, but how many great receivers in recent past have been through there? The Dwayne Bowes and, of course, recently Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, and they always seem to put them out. What do we have coming in at LSU at the running back and wide receiver position?
We feel that our wide receiver position could be the strength of our football team.
I've said that myself, actually.
They have to prove it.
Yeah.
But, you have a guy like Justin from Destrehan High School, who we feel is a great receiver.
Yeah.
Jonathan Giles caught 60-something balls at Texas Tech.
Huge.
We put number
over
7.
1,000 yards, yeah.
Look, man, we put number 7 on him.
Did you? Giles is wearing 7.
Yeah,
okay.
Giles is wearing 7.
Nice.
So we think about him. Stephon Sullivan, 6'6". D. Anderson, 6'5".
Yeah.
Then we had the number 1 wide receiver, Racy McMath.
Yes.
From right there at Endicott High School.
Yeah,
big,
across the river.
Tough, and physical. And then you look at the number 1 wide receiver recruiting class in the country, recruited by Mickey Joseph, right there from Shaw High School. You have Terrence Marshall, number 1 wide receiver. You have Jamar Chase, who's having.
I mean, these guys are studs. I mean, if y'all don't know the recruiting circle, LSU's got a bunch of them. You just got to make sure you got somebody to give them the ball, right?
That's right. You got Keenan Jones, long jump champ, triple jump champ. So we have some receivers now at running back. Everybody's worried about the running back position.
Sure.
I'm not.
Right.
I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a good back. Nick Brissett is a good back. I'm looking forward to seeing Chris Curry run the football.
Yeah.
So we have a stable of backs, but it's going to make us throw the football, make us be more balanced, not having that superstar running back. But the whole key to our offense is going to be the offensive line. And I feel we have a very strong offensive line.
I mean, obviously, Tommy Clapp he's right there. Well, son, obviously, Will Clapp is right here in New Orleans. That was a leader on the offensive line. You have guys to replace them.
Yes, we do. Garrett Brumfield is going to be our leader for us. We have 3 guys that started as freshmen.
Right.
Sadiq Charles, Ed Ingram was probably one of the best scorers on our football team, and Austin Deckers. And then we have one guy that coming back, you're going to love him, Damian Lewis. We call him D-Lou. A junior college transfer from Mississippi. One of the strongest, toughest football guys on our team.
I got to say, the defense, I feel very strong about. You have Dave Aranda, who may be the best defensive coordinator in the country. I'm just my opinion. I don't know what you're going to say about it, but you also have one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in the country, in Devon White.
I feel like Dave is one of the best defensive coordinators in all of football. He's a tireless worker, very smart. Devon White is a force. He had a great year for us last year, and believe it or not, he's still getting better. And he's a tremendous leader for us. We have Greedy White, who is probably the best corner in America.
Yes.
So we're very strong in the linebacker position, the corner. Grant Delpit is an excellent safety. And we're strong up front. We got some guys returning. Rashard Lawrence. We got Ed Rugaru Alexander. At nose tackle, we have Glenn Logan right there from Destrehan. Braden Fajoko. We finally have depth. And another young man I think about all the time is Kelvin Chasson.
Yes.
He was in the shadow of Arden Key last year.
Yes, he was.
I believe he's going to have a breakout year.
He's a stud. I've said that 4 times already, but the guys you mentioned, because I follow it pretty closely myself. Hey, now we're having some fun. I'm going to bring up a name, and I want you to give me some memories and your relationship with them.
All right.
Bobby Hebert.
Winner. State champion. College roommate.
What's up with this picture, though?
Hey,
that's
him.
That's when he was coaching for the. That's when he was playing for the Saints.
How about that?
Remember that first year when they went off the bat and they went 12-3 in the strike year, and he went up. They did a special, and that was him and his family. They went down to cutoff, and you're well aware, right down the road from the Rose. Talk about your relationship, how far back it goes.
Bobby and I went to junior high together. And Bobby and I played high school football together, and then we were roommates in college.
State champions, though, 1977.
State champ, 1977.
South Lafourche Tarpons.
4th and 21 against Bonneville, man.
That was it?
Play. Yes, sir.
Against Bonneville, y'all made
Miraculous
the play.
We beat Shaw that year. And
was that Hank Tierney, Shaw?
Yeah. And Hank Tierney's team, and then there was a great football team. But we had a good football team. We had a great coach and Ralph Perry, and we had a good team.
And that's the reunion. You're number 77. What's the significance? You wore that number all through high school. You wore it during college as well,
sir.
Correct?
Yeah. I like the number. They retired my jersey at South Lafourche, one of only 3 players to be retired. I was very honored to get that award.
So you and Bobby, are y'all still tight?
Still tight.
Very tight.
Yep.
The Bayou folks stick together. That's what I love about them. Hey, I'm going to bring up another name that might surprise people. They know you coached with him at Tennessee. They know you coached with him at USC. Maybe not many people remember the Tennessee part, but Lane Kiffin. And I remember when I had you on the radio show, you told me how close you two were, and then all of a sudden I called Lane like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, this is what Coach O said. He goes, oh, he's my best friend. So talk to me about your relationship, because you don't seem like the two same people.
Yeah, Lane and I respect him as a football coach. He's a brilliant young coach, and he's a great recruiter. He and I have been through some battles in recruiting together, and we believe in each other. I love his style of football. Me and him are different as coaches, but we respect each other. We became very good friends.
And how about this, Nick Saban? What's your relationship with Nick?
Professional. Yeah. I obviously respect him. First of all, Nick did a great job at LSU. And he brought LSU to a championship level, did a tremendous job of recruiting, and is doing a tremendous job in Alabama. Yeah,
this is the hurdle everybody talks about. Alabama has become such a juggernaut. And they don't even give LSU any problems anymore as far as they used to be. Because nobody's touching right now. What's the secret to the success, the recipe to get by Alabama?
The line of scrimmage. I think you really need to match their line of scrimmage play. In the last couple of years, we've done that. We haven't come close enough. And then the quarterback play. Their quarterback has made plays. We haven't. And then again, they've had #1 recruiting classes for maybe 10 years straight. We need to get at that level in recruiting.
And what's your relationship with the guy that brought you in LSU, Les Miles?
Les was a great man. I love Coach Miles. I have a lot of respect for him. He did a lot of great things for LSU. He hired me, so I respect him.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I've worked with him during the season. He had nothing but good things to say with you because he did some TV with us.
Sure.
Which is interesting because he's a different cat. And I mean that in all the best way to say it. But as far as this season goes, You have Miami to open up the season. That is a tough opponent. Do you realize, I know you do, but I looked at something the other day. You play 4 of the top 9 teams in the country. Miami, Auburn, of course, Alabama and Georgia were both in the championship game last year. And then you pay 3 more that are considered in the top 27. That's 7 teams that most people say would be favored to beat you right now. What do you say to that?
Well, that's why you come to LSU.
Right.
LSU is a great place to coach. LSU is a place of competition. That's why you come into SEC West. I invite every one of those challenges.
And your family, I know it means so much to you. I always love seeing your wife at the end of the game. I know she's been through some stuff lately, but talk about your family and how they've supported you through everything.
They're my rock. You know, Kelly has raised 3 wonderful boys. All our boys play football at Mandeville High School. They're all going to college, doing well. My oldest is coaching with me. Both 2 of the twin boys are at McNeese, and Kelly remains the rock of our family.
Well, we have a tradition here. As you see all these signatures on these balls, I'm going to have to find my pen. But we also have another tradition. We give out these task performance shirts. They're very soft. If you ever try them, it's that bamboo fiber technology. You're going to throw your Under Armour away once you start
Appreciate it.
Feel that. And also, if you're ever uptown, this is a restaurant called Shays de la Shays. Coach?
I love it.
It's been a pleasure. That's on Maple, by the way, between Carrollton and Broadway. Hey, I appreciate you, and I just wish you the best of luck this season and beyond.
God bless.
There he is. That's Bebe. His mom's Coco and his dad's Bebe as well. But we call him Coach O and Ed Orgeron. I do appreciate him. And also, I really love that segment with him and the governor and talking about all the things that they're doing together, including hurricane preparedness. Hey, but coming up next, we have Gerald Boudreau, a guy that is refereed in 5, count them 5, Final Fours. That is amazing, but he's also now serving our state. He is a state representative for the last 2.5 years, the same amount of time that our governor, John Bell Edwards, is as well. So he's coming up next right here on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports, and wow, what a great segment with the LSU head football coach Ed Orgeron and, of course, the governor of Louisiana. I had a lot of fun talking about them and their friendship and all the great things they're doing for the state. And another guy right here is doing great things for the state as a Louisiana State rep. His name is Gerald Boudreau, but that's not why he's on this show. This is mostly a sports show. We're going to talk a lot about what he did in the basketball realm. He was an NCAA basketball official from 1985 to 2013. He was the head of SEC reps from 05 to 13, and he worked 5 Final Fours from 97 through 2003 right here in New Orleans, that one. And he also has been at it for a long time, including one of the games I like to forget. We'll talk about that in a second. But his name, like I said, Gerald Boudreau from Lafayette. This is an all South Louisiana show. We have a meat covered, we have LaRose covered, and we got the metropolis of Lafayette compared to those two.
Most definitely.
How
glad
you
to
doing?
be. I'm glad to be here, Scott. Thank you for the invite.
Well, our relationship goes way back. I mean, because there's a thing when you're a basketball ref and you're with guys that do television. I did a lot of live games with Tim Brando. You're always trying to catch that plane right after the game in a college town, and you're trying to get out of town. So you usually see each other at the airport, and you get to nurture that relationship a little bit.
No doubt about it. Several times y'all took the escort with us from the arena
the police
to the
escort
airport.
With the lights?
Yes, indeed. If y'all talk well about us, and most of the time you made sure Brando said nice things.
We
so
tried
we
to.
Good.
We tried to. Brando's one of the nicer ones. Some guys might be a little rougher. But talk about that, because that is a thankless job. How did you get in to being a college referee? And obviously you did very well because you moved on and got some Final Fours under your belt.
Well, it's definitely a blessing. So you start off like most people, probably in college, working some intramural games or something just to have a few quarters to buy a few beers.
That's how it started, intramurals in college.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And then you work your way into high school, organized high school basketball, and at some point the light goes off and somebody says, hey, have you ever considered college basketball? And the answer is always no, and then say, well, they have these camps, just like we see now with the players.
Yeah.
where officials go to camp. So you go to camps, and all of the major, conferences are represented there, and they scout and they look at officials, and they said, hey, we want to get you in our program, and that's basically how it starts.
Well, we were talking a couple of days ago about some of the stuff you've worked in the past, and that right there is Pitino's game back when he was at Louisville, and there's obviously Tubby Smith at Kentucky, the old Kentucky coach. But he actually coached a game that I want to forget, and most LSU fans, you'll want to forget as well. It's the biggest comeback in NCAA history. I'll never forget it. When he said the biggest comeback, I said, don't tell me the February 15th, 1994 Mardi Gras night game in Baton Rouge. Kentucky was losing to LSU by 31 points with 15 minutes to go. And if you're a Tiger fan or a Wildcat fan, you remember it well. Walter McCarty and company started hitting 3 after 3 after 3. And Kentucky won that game 99-95, I believe. And it was the greatest comeback, but the worst day in LSU basketball history.
Well, and again, as an official, you're out there and you don't want to be part of the game. But you talk about a tale of two games. I mean, the first half it was all LSU, and then second half it was like only Kentucky on the floor. So it was something, as you said, that people will never forget.
I mean, what was it like in that arena, though? Because, listen, Kentucky was very good. They remember that just 2 years earlier they had the great game where they lost to Christian Laettner in the shot to go to the Final Four. Pitino had brought this team back to prominence. They ended up winning the NCAA title 2 years later in '96. So they were good. LSU, they were in the post-Shaq lull period, but they were still a pretty good team. But they didn't ever expect to be up 31 to the powerful Wildcats. So what was the atmosphere like in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center back then?
Well, again, go back to the date. It's Mardi Gras. So you had people who had been partying all weekend. And of course, the first half with the score the way it was, I mean, it was
28 at the half,
yeah, there was Big Blue all over the place. And it was as quiet for the Kentucky fans because they actually had more Kentucky fans in the arena than there were LSU fans.
LSU fans were partying down in New Orleans.
Exactly. They didn't make it back from Mardi Gras. So it was somber. And, we go in at halftime and knowing how basketball can be, no one could have predicted the outcome of this. And it started raining 3 points all over the place. And next thing you know, it's like, did we miss something? It's a whole new game.
I mean, how did you get to work 5 Final Fours? Because that's a big deal. I mean, you usually that's the thing where refs have been in it for 20 years or so. You were like barely after 1 decade, you got to work the '97 Final Four with Kentucky and Arizona.
Yeah, it's breaks and opportunities and of course exposure. My primary conference being the SEC, there were a lot of televised games. So when you get to the NCAA tournament and you get into the selection process, popularity goes a long way. So you get a name like Boudreaux from Louisiana, and he doesn't screw up many plays in many games. It helps to move on. So I was, fortunate in the right place a lot of times, and I always believe in letting people play, and I think during those times and during that period, it was important for college basketball, and I kind of, stayed underneath the radar, and I think that helped for my success.
Well, Arizona upset Pitino in '97. Remember that, and of course Kentucky won it again in '98 with Tubby. It was '96, '98. Right. But you also did the '99 one. That was the first of UConn's many, and Duke was the big favorite. I'll never forget that one. Yes. Duke was a huge favorite. Calhoun had never won. Coach K had 2 at that point.
Right.
And Calhoun and them surprised them. Obviously, you see this team with Khalid El Amin. I remember that team very well. What was that like working that one in Tampa?
Well, it was down in Florida again, and just another great opportunity. And as you said, you got Connecticut and Duke, and the table was set. And I mean, if you read the newspapers and the clippings, the game was over before it started. That
Duke was
the favorites,
win. Right.
yeah, Duke
Absolutely.
was the favorite to win. And again, that's the challenge, in officiating is that we don't read the clippings, and we got to go out in every game. You got to do your job, and it was very exciting. I mean, and you have a guy like Calhoun on the bench, and he can throw anything in at any time. I mean, the guy's still coaching somewhere today, Division II or III. But so it was very exciting. One of the other things, I worked with Timmy Higgins in that game.
Yeah, yep.
Timmy is just one of the greatest, floor leaders and guys. I mean,
yes.
And if we go back just a second to the LSU Kentucky game, the '94 game,
we have to?
which I hate to keep bringing it up, but so it's Mardi Gras. So I'm in Lafayette at Mardi Gras, and in that game we had Tim Higgins and Jim Burr in that game. And
so you drinking in Lafayette at Mardi Gras?
I had no drinking on the day of a game.
Okay.
We didn't until after the game when we got back home.
After the game, right?
Yes. But those guys were great guys, and just a sidebar on that '94 game. Maybe this, Dale Brown was so excited. He's up, at the half, and he had told Jim Burr a couple of things, and those of us who know Jimmy, he wears it on his shoulder.
Yes, he does.
So Dale had told him a couple of things, and we go into the half, and Jimmy tells me, he says, "You tell your coach if he says anything the second half, he's going to have some issues with me." I said, "Well, first of all, he's not my coach."
Yeah, your coach, because you're from Lafayette.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana, so he's my coach.
I
said, you're the guy that's supposed to be the greatest. I said, I'm not your messenger. You tell him what you want to tell him. And so it's so ironic because Dale didn't say anything the second half.
Nothing.
I mean, it started raining 3 points, and it was all over.
Once it got to be like in the teens, I knew it was over. It was weird. Like they were still up 17. I'm like, the momentum is gone.
Yeah.
A couple more of these Final Fours I want to bring up. 2000 is when Duke, they did win that one again, and that was in Indianapolis. And one of the perks I had working a lot of these NCAA tournaments with Tim Brando was that he would get me Final Four tickets because we used to work all the way through the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. And then, that was a nice perk. And so I would go to all these, but I remember Duke, they had revenge on their mind. Yes. They weren't playing UConn, but they had revenge on their mind, and they got it done.
They did. Again, and for those who love Duke and those who don't love Duke, you got to give them their props and their credit, and they always come prepared. And like you said, after not winning the year before, they were destined to make sure they got it done.
I made a mistake because that was 2001. But the one before was Michigan State and Florida. That was the one up in India.
Mateen Cleaves got hurt. Yes, he got hurt in that game, and he limped the entire second half. And
he did a Willis Reed.
He did.
He did a Willis Reed, and they pulled it out.
He did. And Judd Heathcote, of course, was gone at that point.
Yeah, Izzo's first title, right?
Tom Izzo's first title there. And,
Michigan State.
Yeah, so it was one of those, again, settings where, you're going to remember this for a long, long time. But we, again, another opportunity for us to be, prime time with the Final Four. But great setting, great arena, and outstanding ball game. Billy Donovan, of course, was coaching at Florida at the time early on in his career because he had left, of course, from under the tutelage on the Patino.
Right? Yeah, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's now there, and as we said, Izzo, who had stayed under Judd for so long. So those two guys,
two apprentices, two proteges, they came through and got those titles. That's nice. And then obviously Donovan won 2 in a row. First time that had been done since Duke did it in 91-92. Hey, by the way, the one in New Orleans I remember very well because I was living in Atlanta still, but I flew down here with a couple of friends of mine that went to Syracuse, hooked them up, and they couldn't have been happier. Carmelo, they got it done. Obviously, there was a guy named Dwayne Wade in that Final Four playing for Marquette, and Dwayne Wade and Carmelo was the third pick of the draft. The fourth was Dwayne Wade. Do you remember the first and second?
I don't.
LeBron James and Darko Milicic. Who could forget those two guys?
Well, LeBron.
Well, one of them at least. But yeah, so this was Carmelo's. This is your last Final Four, and it happened to be right here in the Crescent City. Talk about that one.
Well, the thing that I'll remember after the game the most, having 3 daughters, they wanted to know why I didn't get Carmelo's autograph from them. They didn't say anything about how we officiated
I don't
the
think
game
that would look good, would it?
Yeah, not at all.
If the ref gets the autograph from a player?
Before the game, no. But again, just another great setting. Of course, 2 years before I come off of the floor, so it was one of those things that I really was hoping would work out, to have a Final Four in the state that I reside in. And I remembered, I know, you got the governor on standby, and at that game was Governor Kathleen Blanco.
Right.
And as we were walking out on the floor, she and Coach Blanco were coming in with security through the back door. So, of course, all the NCAA officials and my 2 partners in the game, when they announced that she was the governor, and she came up and greeted me, and then of course we go way back from our UL days. So just great to be in Louisiana to work a Final Four, and then to be at home with people that I've known all my life.
Well, Syracuse beat Kansas. That was Roy Williams' final game at Kansas before you went back to UNC. And by the way, speaking of the governor, I reconnected with you after many years actually, and I happened to see you at the Spurs-Pelicans game toward the end of the season. There's the governor right there. It was great to see y'all. I didn't know y'all were friends. I didn't even know you were a state rep at the time, but y'all came in together at the same time, both elected in 2015.
That's correct. And it's been an honor to work with Governor John Bell Edwards and put the people of Louisiana first. And for me as a state senator to be in this capacity, 39 senators that get an opportunity to move the needle, and we've just been honored and blessed to do that. So I look forward to continuing the accomplishments. We've done a lot, but there's a lot more still needs to be done. And it's going to have to be done in a bipartisan manner. It's going to have to be done, again, keeping the people of Louisiana first. And I know he feels just like I do. That's the most important thing.
Well, y'all are both doing a fantastic job, and we thank you. I mean, I know it's not easy being a servant of the state and the people of the state of Louisiana, but we appreciate everything you do, my man.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate coming on today and looking forward to continuing to work with all of my colleagues in the House and the Senate to make sure that we're proud of the state that we live in, and that's Louisiana.
Well, since I have no partisanship reference right here, I'm just going to go ahead and say I can give you gifts, right? This is a task performance shirt. When you feel that, you'll never put another shirt on, I promise you, because I haven't. I still wear the same underwear I've worn ever since I first put them on. Once you put this soft bamboo fiber, you never, and that is a gift certificate to Shays de la Shays. So enjoy, my friend. That is in New Orleans, uptown by the riverbend.
Thanks again, Scott.
We appreciate you. Gerald Boudreau. There he is right there. Got to thank the governor. This has been a fantastic show. Last year, remember, the governor brought Carl Malone. This year, well, he brought Coach Orgeron and, of course, Gerald Boudreau right here. I want to thank Kobe Lane as well and everybody here at WLE. Will Hill, my producer, of course, the Redhead Tsunami, Naila, Taylor, Anthony, and everybody at CST as well. We'll see you next week. Hey, we've got another big show. Duran Macklin's coming, and we got a few other surprises for you as well. We'll be back.